What if I told you that love has become just a tool for manipulation, and in a world where emotions are under control, true feelings are but a mirage? A night metropolis shrouded in a grim atmosphere feels like a sip of adrenaline. Here, between neon lights and piercing shadows of drones, every step reminds us of the rules imposed by the Council of Emotions. The city is divided into zones, each existing within its own frameworks of relationships. Here, friendship and closeness have become a valuable currency, and human emotions are a commodity. I wandered through dark alleys where every passerby could be both a friend and an enemy. The meaning of understanding and acceptance is erased here, like an inscription on a worn-out page. Intrigue binds gazes as under the glow of neon signs everyone seems to want to ask, how does this all concern us? Perhaps it's not just a game but a ruthless reality, like a spring compressed under the pressure of constant waiting for the right moment. What laws compel us to agonizingly wait for approval and validation of our choices? I found myself pondering how often those around us, even unknowingly, become puppets in the dance of manipulation. And there it is, the revelation piercing consciousness. In this world, the successful are not those with more resources or attractiveness, but those who know how to set the rules of the game, a living experiment where love has become merely a result of strategy rather than genuine feelings. Noticing how those who can simply be establish their boundaries and values, I wondered, is there a place for true attachment here? Every corner of this city is an illusion. What if we could break these chains, free ourselves from the shackles of demands and expectations? The thirst for genuine closeness is what drives us. I began to realize that the need for solitude is not a weakness. It is a strength that allows one to remain true to their beliefs, choosing their own path. In this crumbling world where feelings hide behind masks, I increasingly found myself at a crossroads. How to find a balance between the desire for connection and the necessity to preserve oneself. And perhaps it is here, in this repelling darkness, that the seed of true freedom lies. Not to pander to opinions, not to hide one's essence behind protective walls, but to have the courage to be oneself despite the fear of loss. This is what experts have kept silent about. This is the real truth that no one wants to see. It is lonely in this world, but this is how liberation begins. Think about it. Are you ready to stop playing by someone else's rules? What if I tell you that love is not just a feeling, but a real strategy? Don't you think that everything we've been taught about romance, about what true love should look like, doesn't match reality at all? Let's think. We spend hours trying to please each other, creating perfect images on social media, following the roles set for us by movies and books. But the truth is that real connection might lie not in passion but in something greater. Imagine that love is like a game of chess. Every move matters, leading to consequences. We choose how to communicate, how to support each other, and most importantly, how to resolve conflicts. How often do we lose sight of this when we dive headfirst into emotions? Have we become so immersed in idealizing relationships that we've forgotten that love is also work? A work where both sides act strategically, supporting each other, developing shared goals. What if we let go of old patterns and begin to see love not just as romance, but as a deep partnership built on understanding and respect? Be ready to rethink your understanding of love. Perhaps the secret to truly strong relationships lies here. What do you think? What is the real value of love? What if I told you that your emotions are not just feelings, but a powerful weapon that can change your life? In a world where every step and every word matters, analyzing emotions becomes the key to success. let me introduce you to our hero, the analyst of the Council of Emotions. He is someone who sees more than an ordinary person. In his office, surrounded by screens and diagrams like in a command center, every number, every reaction, every interaction becomes an exciting scenario to study. Outside the windows, life goes on, slipping away from the perception of most. But it is in this space that he builds his unique picture of the world. A world where despair can turn into hope and joy can turn into realization. He is an observer, a seeker of human souls, listening to the vibrations of emotions, the everyday chaos, turning it into an organized system. Have you ever wondered what it's like to decipher feelings? He is able to draw a line between sincere experiences and the masks that people wear. How does he do this? Through countless hours of research and unique methods that inspire respect and wonder. His goal is to show that emotions can be a great ally on the path to success if you know how to handle them. Each day something incredible happens here, and each new project is an opportunity to unravel the mystery of human nature. However, behind this process lies not only an analytical mind. It is also a personal story, the story of a person who, like you, sought answers to questions about himself and those around him. Every slide, every diagram on the wall is a piece of the puzzle, a puzzle that can not only answer questions but also change your reality. Like anyone, he has his weaknesses, his experiences, but it is precisely these that make him stronger. Immerse yourself in his world and perhaps you will see a reflection of your own. What if I told you that your attention is worth more than any wealth? Every day we lose this rare currency, scattering it on trivialities and fuss. I myself have often wondered, how is it possible? The people around me, absorbed in their own affairs, do not notice how fleeting moments slip away like sand through fingers. This is not just a matter of time. It's a matter of value. Today, I will reveal to you one of the most cherished secrets. Attention is the key that opens the doors to our dreams. In a moment, I realized that by focusing my attention on what truly matters, I can not only change my life but also impact those around me, to be heard, to be understood. But the market for that attention is overcrowded. Everyone is trying to ensnare us in their nets. Every time I focus on my loved ones, on those who truly matter, it becomes painful to realize how much I have missed before. This internal conflict, being with one but thinking of another. And it is so easy to just disconnect, to retreat into our thoughts, but this makes us lonely and isolated. What will happen when we start to value what is real? When we decide to invest our attention in people and moments that heal? I am ready to embark on this journey, and I hope you are too. To a world where every moment matters, and our attention is the gift that we can and should give. Do you know that your attention is the new currency of our world? We live in an era where every second, every thought, and every emotion can be recorded and sold. In our society, it is no longer enough to just be. You need to be noticed. This is not just a way of interacting. It is a new reality, and the stakes are surprisingly high. Imagine that every movement, every emotion of yours is recorded by some invisible council of emotions that governs the connections you make and the opportunities that arise before you. Such a world is not merely a hypothetical situation, but a reality that is being formed right here and right now. And what if I told you that in this reality, even your "how are you" can become part of the attention trade? It may seem absurd at first glance, but that is how social connections work. People have already begun to realize that their emotions govern their lives. Those who skillfully manipulate their feelings become more successful, more noticeable, and more influential. How amazing it is that in this ocean of information and metropolis of friendship and communication, The only thing that is truly valuable is the ability to attract attention. Challenging conventional ideas, learning to manage your emotions and understanding the feelings of others is the key to success in our interactions. And now that you understand what is at stake, let's examine how all of this actually works and what secrets the world holds where attention has become the new value. What if I told you that your life is just a chessboard, where every move is predetermined? In the dim light of the club, the edge of senses, people gather who understand this true essence. Whispers subtly spread across the room, weaving into the thickening haze, reminding that behind ordinary faces lies a whole world of intrigue and manipulation. On one of the comfortable leather sofas sits an elegant woman in a dark dress. She carefully lifts her glass of red wine and, smiling carefreely, says, "Your confidence is merely an illusion created so you don't see the real players." Each of her words, like a bitter pill, leaves a residue. Not far from her sits a tall young man in glasses. He watches the conversations, keenly picking up on details that others might miss. "If you know how to manipulate emotions, you become a master of the game," he says, his tone suggesting that it is not only important to know the rules but also to be able to play them. In the corner of the room, an elderly man, seemingly forgotten by everyone, suddenly declares, "True power lies in hidden connections. Make sure your friends are always at their best." Glances dart between him and the others, then return deep into the shadows where a common secret lurks. An awkward pause stretches, filled with significant looks. What if these people sitting here have long since engaged in their dark dealings? What if beneath friendly smiles lies something more? The atmosphere thickens, like the air at the bottom of the ocean where treasures and dangers are concealed. Conversations continue. Everyone has their secrets and strategies, but someone here is clearly not playing the game presented on the surface. In this club, life is not just life. It is an endless choice where every move could be decisive. Your story is not yet written, but here in this dim light, its plot begins. When you see a couple on the street exchanging tender glances and smiles, know that they have their own romantic laws, rules dictating how to behave in a relationship. But what if I told you that behind this whole set of strict instructions lies absurdity? Watching their perfect dance, it becomes clear this entire game of feelings turns into a performance where there is no place for spontaneity and sincerity. Every step is scripted: how to hold a hand, what the gaze should be like at the moment of a kiss, how to text with the right emojis. This is not just social norms. It's a whole act perfected to excellence. And then, while they embrace, you suddenly take a conscious step back and ask yourself, what if all these rules simply prevent us from being real? How many times have you created perfect moments that ultimately turned out to be empty? Smiles and gazes have become not reflections of genuine feelings, but rather a vain game where someone must inevitably win. We are happy as long as we follow these rules, but we forget that sometimes breaking all the norms leads to true intimacy. Amid the flow of mundane encounters and greetings, we forget how it is to just be. And when the hero of our video realizes this, he suddenly notices that real emotions lie not in following the rules, but in spontaneity. Around the corner, next to this perfect couple, someone laughs as if cracking a secret code that can shatter this entire crazy performance. What if true freedom in love is found where there are no pre-written scripts? Why are some always in the spotlight while others seem to dissolve into the gray mass? They are not noticed, not heard. They remain invisible to those around them. Imagine what it's like to be among people and feel that you don't exist, like a shadow that has passed by. Have you ever wondered why some people attract attention while others, despite all their efforts, remain unnoticed? The truth is, it's not always about having talent or an attractive appearance. It's more about how they express themselves, about how they make others stop and pay attention. If you learned the secrets of these people, would you change your approaches to communication? Think about this question. What if your vision of success is completely out of sync with reality? Perhaps there is a way to rise to the level of those who are already at the top. Each of us wants to be seen, heard, and understood. But what if it's not as simple as it seems? Are you ready to find out what lies behind this challenging task? Let's figure out why some people are always in view while others are in the shadows, and open the doors to new opportunities for each of us. What if I told you that everything you believed is not true? Have you ever wondered why some people attract attention while others remain unnoticed despite all their efforts and resources? At first glance, it seems that a person's attractiveness depends on wealth, status, or physical beauty. But here's the shocking truth. It doesn't. In our society, we are pressured by stereotypes that set norms and rules. We are raised to believe that a successful person is one who can afford luxurious things, one who looks perfect and stands on a pedestal. But let's think about how many times you've encountered someone who seemed to have nothing, yet their energy and confidence inspired you. This happens because attractiveness does not depend on external conditions. It lies within us. Imagine a situation. You walk into a cafe and your gaze stops at a person who may be dressed modestly, yet they radiate an inner light. Their confidence, their smile, that's what attracts people to them, not their wardrobe. This example shows us that true power lies in our authenticity, in how we feel about ourselves and how we perceive the world around us. So it's time to rethink how we view attractiveness. It is not tied to money nor dependent on status symbols. It originates from within us in our ability to be ourselves. Moments of self-expression, sincerity, and confidence create a magnetic aura that draws people like a magnet. It's time to break free from familiar patterns and expand the boundaries of understanding attractiveness. What happens when you lose everything you've invested so long in? In the spotlight is an office room full of glamour and success. I felt like I had it all: power, respect, admiration. Every day I walked into this space under the gaze of colleagues who awaited my orders, but suddenly, everything began to crumble. I opened my laptop and saw the screen flickering with recordings of my peak moments. The first video, me delivering an inspiring speech at a large conference, a stunned audience member carrying flowers. I was like a big son, the one everyone reached for. In the second moment, I was laughing with friends at a corporate party, being the center of fun, laughing, joking, feeling unbeatable. But something started to change. Over the months, the attention faded. Calls stopped coming. Messages went unanswered. I looked at it like an old video. It already felt distant. I could feel the emptiness growing in my chest. There was no more laughter, no more interest. I slipped on thin ice, which turned out to be nothing but an illusion. What if right now, in this moment of realization, I could go back and reevaluate what truly matters? Can I restore my value when all the external shiny surfaces begin to disappear? It's that feeling when you're on top and in a moment you find yourself at the bottom. I started to wonder, and what if external admiration is a trap? I took a deep breath, and as darkness consumed me, I felt the first light of hope. In this world, weakness became truth, and within it opened up possibility. It was a spark that could be kindled to rebirth myself. I began to understand that true strength lies not in fame, but in getting back up when everything falls apart. I closed the laptop and looked through the glass walls of the office at the city. The sun was rising, and with it purpose blossomed. I was beginning the journey of inner transformation where value is rooted in something greater than empty applause. In this space, I began to seek my true greater purpose. Do you recognize that the next step will be this transition from the external to the internal? What if I told you that success depends not only on your actions, but also on your ability to be alone with yourself? In a world where constant attention and distraction reign, this simple truth takes a back seat. Sometimes we feel that we must always be surrounded by people to be in the spotlight. But here's what's important. He who cannot be alone cannot hold someone else's attention. This thought from a philosophical treatise seems forbidden, as it makes us reflect on the deepest truths. When we are alone with ourselves, we do not just think about our goals. We delve into the essence of our desires and aspirations. In silence, we hear the richness of our own thoughts and feelings, which usually get lost in the hustle of life. Recall moments when you were completely immersed in yourself. How much wisdom and understanding emerges when external noises fade away. But take a moment to think. How ready are you to accept this truth? Are you comfortable being alone with yourself? Perhaps it is in this moment that the key to attracting others' attention lies. Don't miss the chance to realize that the first truth on the path to others is understanding your inner world. And only when you are not afraid of your own silence can you attract the attention you truly need. This is the path to true success. Do you know why 95% of people never achieve their goals? It's not because they don't work hard enough or lack talent. The secret lies in their perception of themselves and the world around them. Imagine. You are in an unremarkable apartment evening. The walls are filled with ordinary items, but on the table lies something important. A book that everyone has forgotten. Inside are the answers that can change your life. Internal beliefs define our behavior, not external signs of success. This hero is a nobody. He was not the center of attention, yet he found himself at the epicenter of change. He started with small steps, exploring the extent of his possibilities, breaking through habitual self-perceptions. This journey led him to astonishing discoveries that transformed his understanding of happiness and success. When he decided to challenge himself and begin with the simplest change, altering his morning ritual, his life gradually began to change. Imagine that now each of his days began not with procrastination, but with inspiration. Instead of the mundane routine, he sought opportunities in every moment. This is what changed his perception of the world. Each morning decision became a step toward a new reality. So are you ready to take control of your life? Ask yourself what you can change today to be one step closer to your dreams tomorrow. By realizing in time that your beliefs are what limit you, you can transform your life into something extraordinary. Don't be afraid of invisible steps. They often lead to the most remarkable outcomes. What if I told you that true strength lies within you? In the dark room where all mistakes and disappointments are recalled, I ask myself the question, what is true strength? Every inch of this room is filled with the echoes of the past. Words that were once spoken, hopes that never materialized. I try to look at myself in the mirror, but instead of a reflection, I see only the shadows of doubt. When we talk about strength, what do we mean? Is it physical power, money, or influence? Or perhaps the ability to overcome oneself? I remember the times when I was convinced that success was merely a sign of strength. But now, looking at my failures, I begin to understand. True strength is, above all, the ability to rise after a fall. How many times have I given up on my dreams because I feared disappointment? How many opportunities have I missed, conjuring up what-ifs in my mind? But what if I was wrong? Perhaps strength lies in vulnerability, in being open despite fear. Maybe it is in the difficult moments that we truly find ourselves. I remember once hearing the story of a man who lost everything, but in that loss found his true purpose. It made me wonder, what if in our weakest moment we gain true strength? Treasures are not found in achievements, but in the lessons we draw from bitterness. And so, sitting in the dark room, I realize true strength is not resilience against defeat, but the courage to move forward even when it seems the world is against us. My soul tells me that greatness lies in our vulnerability, and in every fall there is hope. But how do I understand this? How to turn my weakness into strength? These questions torment me, but I am ready to seek answers. Ready to embark on this dark yet uncharted road that will lead me to the truth. I am ready to take a step towards myself. What if I told you that all the rules you thought were important might actually work against you? The story of a person who played by the rules for a long time but suddenly realized that the real game begins when you take control. He always followed templates, patiently waited for the next instruction. But one day he encountered a situation that transformed his view on communication. It was something extraordinary. A meeting with a communication guru opened his eyes. The ability to shape the conditions of communication not only changed his approach, but always left its mark on the outcome of the conversation. He suddenly realized that successful people often create the rules of the game themselves. His focus returned to simple truths. If you can't change the people around you, change your interaction with them. This shift in awareness became a moment of truth for him when the indicator of possibilities skyrocketed. He began to notice those moments that he used to overlook and realized that the magic lies in the very ability to control words and interact. Every new conversation is a chance to create your own rules. What do you think? How much does this change the situation? What if I tell you that all your perceptions of relationships can be easily changed? The light dims, transforming into something cold and stern. The characters take their seats around a long table scattered with maps of influence. A tense air has built up between them as if before a storm. One leans toward the others, his voice filled with determination. We live in a world where frames define our perception. How can we take control? Another, with a thoughtful expression, replies, a simple yes or no shouldn't be the final answer. We can create a context that makes them think differently. The first nods, but there is a spark of discontent in his gaze. But how do we achieve this? What are the steps to not just avoid losing, but to win at every stage? A third participant, who had been silent until now, suddenly speaks. Being persistent in our goals is not just about management, but also about manipulating expectations. For example, when we show more interest in their responses, we put them under pressure. Every word penetrates the hearts of the listeners, making them increasingly interested and tense. Questions, discussions, and furrowed brows cross the boundaries of reason, as if each of them is questioning their own strategies. We need more than just words. We must use visual cues to recreate their thoughts. Like on a chessboard where each piece has its significance, each word is a move. But remember, adds another participant, it's not all about manipulation. Our sincerity matters too. True power comes from trust. A pause. They all look at each other in puzzlement, and the atmosphere fills with inner dynamics. We can be a dark horse, summarizes the first. Where we go depends on how we see the world and what frames we create. This is not just a game, it's life. The conversation continues, dividing participants into camps that debate methods, but everyone understands. Whoever controls the frame controls the game. The hero stands at the edge of the cluttered portal, his gaze fixed into the void. All those people with whom he played side by side have long moved on to their own pursuits, and he, like a ghost, wanders through suspended time. What would you do if you discovered that your independence is not only freedom but also loneliness? Every strong player knows, to reach the summit sometimes you have to leave friends, loved ones, even family behind. All these connections gradually begin to fray like threads on an old sweater. He remembered how he rejoiced at victory, but now its taste feels bitter. Where have all those who were once close gone? Lonely nights against the backdrop of endless vigilance of screens, the moon illuminating gray walls. He recalls laughing with friends over minor setbacks, and his heart tightens. Loneliness has become his companion, and although they together have achieved incredible success, victories cannot replace real human relationships. He understands that independence is a sword. Its two blades, one grants strength while the other takes away the warmth of connection. Proud freedom still leaves wounds bleeding from the lack of intimacy. Every time he looks at his trophies, a sense of nostalgia engulfs him. What does it mean to be strong alone? To some it might seem like an ideal, but in his eyes it is merely a mask. How often he has pondered, not pausing for a moment, when he realized that this price was high, too high. And no matter how much he wished to return to those carefree times when friendship required no choices, when laughter bursting through the room was more important than bright victories, he still does not know that the discovery of this simple truth might become his salvation. But realization does not come at once, and that makes his path even harder. Be careful when waiting for change. Perhaps for one, the price of freedom is too high. What if you found yourself faced with a choice? On one side, the attention of others, popularity and favor, and on the other, your deep values that form the foundation of your life. Can you imagine what it would be like? Your entire life, your beliefs, dreams, and ideals confronting temptation? Now ask yourself, are you willing to sacrifice public opinion for your principles? It seems like an easy question, but how would you answer it if you were actually in such a situation? Our values are what make us who we are. They light our path in the darkest times, and in moments of temptation they can become our support. But where is the line drawn? How often do we hide our beliefs to avoid conflict, or perhaps to gain the attention we so crave? Imagine this. You are at an important meeting, all eyes are on you, you are in the spotlight. You are offered to flatter, embellish the truth for the sake of popularity. What will you do? Agree that this is a choice that can change your life. It is not just a question of what is right or wrong. It is a test of your inner world. So could you turn down attention for your values? This question can mark the beginning of your inner journey. Do you know that your boundaries can become your most powerful weapon in our new reality? Today, the world is full of uncertainty and constant change. We face new challenges, but most of us are not aware of how important it is to establish and defend our boundaries. It's like creating a protective shield that prevents others from influencing you without question. Imagine this situation. You are working on an important project, and suddenly a colleague starts distracting you with meaningless conversations. At that moment, you need to clearly set the boundary and say, "Sorry, I'm not ready to talk right now." These are not just words. This is an act of self-respect. Every no you say is your right to personal space, your way of preserving energy and focus. By learning to stand up for your boundaries, you not only protect yourself but also create a space for mutual respect. It's like building healthy relationships where both parties understand and accept each other's boundaries. Consider this as self-care. Your boundaries are your health, your well-being, your personal life. It's important to remember, by setting boundaries, you are not shutting yourself off from the world. On the contrary, you create opportunities for deeper and more genuine connections. This is not an expression of selfishness, but a necessary step towards harmony in relationships. So if you haven't started to recognize your boundaries or are struggling to establish them, now is the time to take a step toward change. Think about how you can start doing this today. Write down the boundaries you want to set and begin with small steps. This tool will help you not only in your personal life, but also in your career. Don't let anyone cross your boundaries and you will see how your life changes. What if you learned that your ignoring actually opens doors to something greater? In a noisy club, amid thumping music and wild dancing, our hero found himself in the shadows. He looked like a ghost, invisible even to those seeking his attention. Everyone around was having fun while he felt out of the game, like a black and white frame in a bright color film. But it was at that moment when he decided not to try to attract attention, that the world around him began to change. At first there were whispers, then sidelong glances, interested ones. A couple in the corner smiled as they noticed him. Groups of people began to murmur, pointing at the one who messed up and was left alone. He felt the energy of the room intensify, and the noise around him grew louder. No, he wasn't trying to be the center of attention. He was simply being. Every moment spent in the shadows was a painfully clear reminder that true attention comes not through shouting and dancing, but through authenticity and calmness. What if in this club everyone was too busy chasing attention to notice his inner strength? And so, when he finally lifted his gaze, he was met by dozens of curious faces. They saw him not just as another person in the crowd, but as a mystery standing at the crossroads between deep shadow and bright light. Thus, from a silent observer, he became the object of adoration, eclipsing even the music for a moment. It is some paradox. When you deprive yourself of the desire for attention, you become its magnet. Questions began to swirl in the air. Who is he? What is hidden behind him? Each of them yearned to know his story, and he realized that perhaps here, amid the madness and chaos, he had found his true light. Are you ready to learn the truth about why showy strength can be off-putting? Have you ever wondered why social media is filled with people showcasing their achievements, yet so rarely opening up with vulnerability? We've come to accept that strength is a sign of a successful person, but let's trace how this perception actually blurs the lines of truth. Imagine a scenario. You walk into a cafe and see a person who seemingly has it all. A beautiful business suit, 3 phones, everyone's full attention. But as you look into their eyes, you suddenly realize that behind this mask lies loneliness and fear. This habitual behavior is an attempt to showcase their worth, but in reality it only reflects inner conflicts and a burning desire to be accepted. How many people around you constantly strive for an ideal while failing to notice how their confidence turns into a protective shell? We hear these stories. Successful businessmen who lose loved ones, artists struggling with depression, all those who seem entitled to feel happy because they have it all. Yet instead they hide their vulnerability deeper than the most expensive secrets. Why is it so hard to accept vulnerability? Because in our society it is seen as a weakness, and we genuinely fear that we won't be understood. But what if I told you that true strength lies within vulnerability? When you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you open the doors to real connections with people who understand that behind showy strength may lie something much more valuable. I'll let you in on a little secret. Those who speak about their mistakes and difficult moments in life often become sources of inspiration for others. Their courage to share their stories makes us feel less alone in our struggles. If we could dismantle the myth that only strength can lead to respect and admiration, we would start to see people differently. Let's examine this paradox. How the thin line between strength and vulnerability can define our perception of success and happiness. Throughout this video, we will discover how in a world full of masks, it's worth opening our eyes to real emotions and learning to embrace our vulnerability as part of our shared journey. What if I told you that happiness can be found outside of power and ambition? The hero, weary from endless intrigues and responsibilities, steps into a small apartment filled with the soft light of candles. Every corner here is imbued with wisdom. Shelves stacked with books seem to hold the secrets of great minds. On the table sits a cup of tea, its aroma penetrating the heart. Have you noticed how often we chase after something that we can't even define? The hermit says quietly and thoughtfully, embracing him with his gaze. The hero sits down beside him, feeling the tension gradually dissipate. How did you find your peace? The hermit smiles, leaning back. When I was in the council, I was a strategist, but eventually I realized that true strategy is not manipulation, but harmony within oneself. His voice sounds like the rustle of the pages of an old book carrying hidden knowledge. You know, he continues, I once lost everything, influence, respect, but at some point I realized that true strength is being free from those shackles. By challenging the world, I learned to hear myself. The hero ponders, realizing that his path can be different. You truly don't regret your choice? The hermit looks out the window into the distance, as if seeing something invisible. Only one who is ready to let go can see the present. Often, it is in loss that the essence of life is hidden. Acknowledge your fears and they will cease to torment you. The hero feels the words penetrate him, opening new horizons. You haven't left the world, have you? The hermit laughs, and his laughter sounds like awakening. I see it in everyone who comes to me. There are many paths to harmony, and each of us chooses our own. And yours, it is yet to be found. Now the hero understands. In the search for himself, it is not necessary to follow only societal standards. He leaves, feeling light in his soul and hope for a new reality. What if I tell you that achievements and success are not necessarily linked to recognition? In our world, where everyone is literally thirsting for the approval of others, there is one important truth that many ignore. True success comes to those who are not afraid to leave their pride by the wayside and walk their own path, even if it is not always beautiful. Imagine a person who decided to pursue their passion, despite the lack of support from anyone. They immerse themselves in creativity, paying no attention to the opinions of critics. This path is not always easy and can often be very lonely. But it is in this solitude that true mastery and uniqueness are born. Let us remember the great individuals who achieve success without waiting for someone to say, "Well done." Stendhal, Steve Jobs, Van Gogh, their names are known, yet in their time they faced misunderstanding and condemnation. Women and men who created despite the lack of recognition left their mark in history. So the new formula for success is this. It is not the one who seeks recognition who receives the best, but the one who is not afraid to be without it. These are not just words, they are a mantra for anyone who wants to be a step ahead. Therefore, before you look into the eyes of those around you, look within yourself. Believe in your work, even if the world is not yet ready to appreciate it. What if you could see how high your price really is? In a dimly lit room where every whisper seems loud, the protagonist stands on the edge, as if on the brink of a chasm facing only two paths. One leads to status, to recognition, to a society that won't overlook any mistakes. The other leads into the unknown, where there is no guarantee of success, but there is a promise of freedom. The tension builds, like dark clouds before a storm. The heart pounds, the feeling that all eyes are focused solely on him. And it's not just a gaze, it's a judgment, it's a question. Are you strong enough to agree to lose everything for yourself? The inner voice whispers, obviously out of fear. Don't let this slip away, for everything you've achieved depends on your status. A hand rises, but it no longer clutches the prize, only the bitterness of doubts. Why continue under a mask if beneath it lies a great threat to oneself? Each step towards status becomes shrouded in darkness, from which in the sunlight one can see how your true essence fades into oblivion. The room is silent, and the question hangs in the air. What is more important, status or the freedom of choice? He closes his eyes, a microsecond in which he finds inner strength. Is he ready to give up the path that leads to recognition to reclaim himself? Life is not just a competition. It is a journey of self-discovery, and this choice will determine who he becomes next. The next step could be decisive. The models of society shrink, and he understands that life is not something given, but something chosen. The spirit grows, like a blossoming flower through the cracks in the asphalt, and he is ready to make a choice. Are you ready to witness the most important truth in your life? When we talk about goals and dreams, it often seems that success comes in the blink of an eye. But in reality, it all starts with something much deeper: your inner purpose. Our reflections have led us to this understanding, and now it's time to bring everything together. Imagine that your inner mission is a magnet, attracting everything you need. It shapes your actions, your desires, and even your thoughts. When you clearly understand why you are here, everything begins to align in harmonious unity. You feel energy flows directed exactly where they should go, and it is an amazing feeling of choice and confidence. We have all heard stories about people who lost everything but found their true purpose and reclaimed their position at the top. This is not coincidence, but a pattern. They realize that clarity and goal setting becomes the source of incredible attraction. They chose their path based on a deep understanding of what truly mattered to them. So how can you achieve this level of clarity? It is a simple yet profound process. It starts with questions. Ask yourself, what do I love to do? Or what inspires me? Sometimes to find your north, all it takes is to stop and look within yourself. A clear purpose is not just a desire, it is your foundation. It helps you stay on course even during tough times. It acts like a compass pointing you in the right direction. Once you find your inner purpose, you'll see the incredible. Opportunities will open up for you effortlessly, like doors leading to a new life. This is not magic. It is the true power of your inner clarity. Remember that true success is not about material things, but about the state of your soul. As soon as you firmly embrace your goal, the world around you will begin to change. Don't miss this unique opportunity. It is time to take action. What if you woke up one day and found that the whole world had stopped noticing you? What would change in your life? Imagine. You step outside as usual, but no one pays attention to you. No smiles, no questions, no conversations. When you leave your home, it's as if you become invisible. What comes next? Perhaps it is in such moments that your true self begins to awaken. Without likes, followers, and the opinions of others, you are face to face with your essence. What does this mean for your goals and dreams? Maybe you will discover something new about yourself. Or on the contrary, realize that all this noise around you didn't matter. How many times have you given up your desires because someone might judge you? What if the absence of an audience liberated you from those shackles? How would you truly live if you didn't have to worry about how you are perceived? I encourage you to reflect. What purpose would become yours if the whole world stopped looking at you? This question is not just about freedom, but also about courage. The courage to follow your dream even if no one sees how you do it. This is worth discussing. I await your thoughts in the comments.